Here's an interesting story. Imagine this scenario. You own a property, and on that property, you grow an orange tree, which you take care of. But somebody else harvests the fruits of that orange tree and sells you back orange juice that they have processed, but at triple the price. Does that sound ridiculous? Well, absolutely. But that's entirely how Africa has been losing its wealth. The government of Uganda is trying to push back by redrawing that line. Uganda's president Yoweri Museveni has reaffirmed a national ban to export raw and processed minerals from the country. This import ban of raw minerals from Uganda is not new. It was first initially imposed in 2015, but of course the implementation has had its challenges. But the president of Uganda this year in 2025 says enough is enough. For decades, African countries across the continent have exported raw minerals to other countries only to buy them back in terms of finished products at very, very high prices. Take Zambia, for instance. The country is the 7th largest copper producer globally, with an estimated 19 million metric tons of copper, yet the country still buys copper wires from China. By processing raw materials locally, a country can ensure that it's boosting its own economy, it can ensure job creation, but importantly, it can also ensure that it retains a majority of its wealth within its borders. Because Africa shouldn't just dig while the world profits. President Museveni's move aims to change that by forcing foreign companies to add value in Uganda and not abroad. If the intent of the policy comes to fruition, if this policy is done right, it could mean more jobs for Uganda, more factories in Uganda, but also wealth staying within the borders of the country. But this policy does not come without risk. Investors can resist and threaten to leave, which could hamper the economy of Uganda. But what is worth noting here is that this policy can work, but it requires regional and continental solidarity. Because if it's only one country doing this, investors can leave that country and go in other regions that don't have as much safeguards as Uganda. But if there's regional and continental solidarity, investors will be forced to work on Africa's terms. In other words, political will and cooperation across the region and across the continent is the key. Uganda has taken a bold step towards the right direction. But for this step to work, it requires regional cooperation and solidarity, but also solidarity and cooperation across the entire African continent. But the real question is, can the rest follow?